our Honorable Principal Dr. Savita Chadha ma'am, dear students and respected teachers, I hope you all are doing great today. Welcome to our Saturday fun learning session, Space the Final Frontier. Students, you are requested to maintain the decorum and be on mute during the session. Your queries will be answered at the end of the session. Now, I would like to invite our respected ma'am, Dr. Savita Chadha, to share few words of wisdom with all of us.
Good morning, dear children. So we are back on this Saturday with a bang. You must be thinking of Big Bang Theory. Oh, that's not where I'm going to correct you today. To the exploration of space. You know, dear children, way back when I was in NASA and working at Kennedy Space Center with a lot of educationists from across the globe, and we came to the consensus that in terms of space education, we really have to gear up because till date, our children, our educators are not even aware of the fact how astronomy is different in space education. So that is the reason we thought, why not to take you across the cosmos with the help of a small session which has been prepared with a lot of efforts by the respective teachers. And believe me, you are going to be spellbound, you are not going to get up from your seats because we are going to take off very soon with the help of your teachers, wherein they have made a presentation with lots of interesting videos, hands-on experience activities, and a lot more for you to learn. So without much ado, let me invite your teachers to take the session. And once again to remind you, your videos are supposed to be on. This is part of internal assessment. You might be having enough games and quizzes, so be very attentive all through the session. So over to the teachers.
Thank you, ma'am, for always encouraging us to learn new things. Today, we will take you through a beautiful journey of time and we will learn a lot about space and beyond. So I, Shivani Kohli, would like to introduce you to my crew members with me in this journey are Miss Tripti Sareen and Miss Anasua Banerjee. So now children, what do you see when you look up at the night sky? Do you see stars? Do you see the moon or a cloudy sky? I'm sure you wonder where do the stars disappear or go away during the daytime. So today we are going to talk about the universe. From where did the universe originate from? The name of the event is Big Bang. Can we have a video, ma'am?
The universe.
So we can see nicely it was demonstrated in the video. We all know that the universe is very, very old, older than we all can imagine. So let us go in 13.8 billion years back in time. We are at the beginning of everything that we can never imagine. In a massive expansion that blew space up like a balloon, this is the Big Bang. Now, let us come a little closer. Now close your eyes and imagine that the vast darkness of space slowly taking forms of different celestial bodies. By now, our galaxy Milky Way is formed, and our home, the solar system, also came into existence. As we all know, our solar system is made up of the sun and everything that orbits around it, including planets, moons, asteroids, comets, and meteoroids. Many scientists are of the view that the solar system was formed from a giant rotating cloud of gas and dust known as a solar nebula. We all know that there are 8 planets in our solar system with 4 terrestrial planets Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars and 4 outer planets Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune, which are gas giants. Now, We all have a preconceived notion in our heads about how the solar system appears. Let's take a look. However, the reality is something different that we can see here in this video. So this is the reality of solar system. So children, haven't you heard the word satellite many a times? Let me give you an idea about satellite. Satellite is a moon or machine that orbits planets. There are two types of satellite, natural and man-made. Now, over to Tripti ma'am for further details. Thank you so much. Tripti ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Hello everyone and warm welcome to all my students, and today now I will be telling you about what is space technology. So the technology that enable us to study or travel beyond the Earth's atmosphere, that is called space technology. And the first country to put any technology in space was Soviet Union. Space technology helps in weather forecasting, remote sensing, satellite navigation, and satellite televisions. Space technology is growing exponentially and turning scientific dreams into reality. Space organizations, they are funding more research and development programs for space exploration. Now I'll tell you about that how and why satellites are important. Thousands of artificial and man-made satellites orbit the Earth at different levels. Some takes pictures of the planets that help meteorologists to predict weather. Now, why are satellites important? Like the bird's eye view of that satellites have allowed them to see large areas of Earth at one time. So this ability means satellites can collect more data more quickly than instruments on the ground. Satellites also, they can see into space better than the telescopes at Earth's surface. That's because satellites fly above the clouds and dust and molecules in the atmosphere that can block the view from ground level. Okay, so now I'll be telling you something about weather forecasting, and I think most of you already know about it. So weather forecasting is important because it helps determine future climatic expectations. The goal of weather prediction is to provide information people and organizations they can use to reduce weather related losses and enhance societal benefits, including protection of life and property, public health and safety. And one more important point which I want to share with all of you to know you about geostationary satellites. Geostationary satellites, actually they stay over the same location on the Earth, high above the surface, and they take image of the entire Earth as frequently as ever 30 seconds. Deep space satellites face the sun to monitor powerful solar storms and space weather. Now hold your breath. We will be seeing a very interesting video. So this video is actually about weather satellite image. So here we go. So, my dear children, let's talk about how does ISRO, that is Indian Space Research Organization, helps in weather prediction. The INSAT series of satellites, they carry very high resolution radiometer, which you can see have been providing data for generating cloud motions, cloud top temperature, water vapor content, facilitating rainfall at some places, and weather forecasting, genesis of cyclones, and their track prediction. So currently, there are three meteorological satellites, Kalpana 1, INSET 3A, and INSET 3D. Quick visualization and analysis of data and products enable accurate weather assessments. So I think you have an insight about application of space technology and a little bit about weather forecasting. Now over to Anasua ma'am, who is with us. She will tell us more about satellites, and one more important thing, she'll tell you about launching of different satellites. So over to you, Anasua ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tripti ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shivani ma'am. It was really wonderful. I was listening to you. It was really wonderful how, exactly we went back 13.7 billion years back in time, and we saw the Big Bang, and now we are back on this day, 26 June 2021, and we're learning about the weather forecasting also. So it is really wonderful, and I really hope, our dear children, you all are enjoying. I can see Pratyush has raised his hand icon. I'm sure you must be having a doubt, Pratyush. We will be taking it up. Just give us some time. Let us finish with the talking part, and then we will be taking each one of you. Don't worry. No one is going to go with a doubt in their mind. Okay. So now, children, I am going to talk to you about a very interesting thing, and that is about the launching of satellites. And the particular event that I'm going to talk to you about is something which is very popular, and I'm sure all of you must have heard about. Okay, so any guesses that what I might be talking about? Yes, I am going to talk about. No, Shivi cannot guess it. Okay, so well, I'm saying this out to you all. I am going to talk about the Chandrayaan 2. Okay, Chandrayaan 2. What is Chandrayaan 2? When India sent across a probe, a satellite, to do a soft landing on our one and only moon, and that is what the Chandrayaan 2 is all about. I'm sure all of you over here have heard about Chandrayaan 2. Yes or no? Has everyone heard about the Chandrayaan 2? Right?
No,
yes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Children, okay. Now, there are two reasons why we have heard about the Chandrayaan 2. One is a very good one, and the other one is, okay, not so good. What is the first reason that we know it? The first reason we know of it is because it was India's one of the most successful mission, where it sent a probe which actually conducted a soft landing on the south polar regions of the moon. And what is the second reason? The second reason is because there was a little disappointment, because we lost contact with the orbiter. We lost contact with the Vikram lander, in fact, just when it was about to land on the moon, right? So there were a little something to do with the calculations, just like the way you do during your maths exams. When you're supposed to calculate it in a certain way, you're almost about to get your right answer, but then you forget to write your units, something like that. Okay. So now we are coming to the Chandrayaan 2 and more about the Chandrayaan 2. Okay. So here we are. What exactly was the purpose of Chandrayaan 2? Why did ISRO? Now all of us over here know what is ISRO. Well, I am still saying, in case there is someone who doesn't know, the ISRO stands for Indian Space Research Organization. Okay, Indian Space Research Organization is our ISRO, and the founder father of ISRO is Vikram Sarabhai. Okay, ISRO has been making us proud by so many things. We will come to that later. So coming back to our Chandrayaan 2, we wanted to understand the origin of the moon. Okay, so we know that moon is our natural satellite which is moving around our planet. We wanted to know more about the moon. We wanted to map the moon's polar region. And why exactly did we want to map the moon's polar region? That is because of the third reason, because we wanted to find evidence of water. Children, just give me one moment. I'm just turning my digital pen on. Okay, that is because we wanted to confirm the evidence of water on moon. So one question that arises in our mind over here, you can ask me, ma'am, why did we choose the polar regions only? Why did we not choose the equatorial region? Why did we choose the polar region, and that too, why not the North Pole? Why did we choose only the South Pole? So these are the questions that might arise in your mind if you're listening to my session very carefully. Now, the reason why we chose the polar region for Chandrayaan-2, we chose the polar region for Vikram lander is because to find the evidence of water. If we go to the equatorial region, in all probabilities, this water might, if at all it existed, it might get evaporated, right? We know of the water cycle that is happening on Earth. So if at all this water is present on any other surface, whether be it moon, whether be it Mars, then in all probabilities, it might get evaporated from there as well. But if you go to the poles, what do you find? If you go to the North Pole and South Pole of the planet Earth, what do you find? We find water in the form of ice, right? We find water frozen in the form of ice. They are snow capped, same thing. So if at all water was present on the surface of the moon, then in all probabilities we can find it at the poles in the form of ice, in the form of frozen polar caps. Coming to the second part of my question, why the South Pole of the moon and why not the North Pole? I mean, what is so special about the South Pole? The reason for it is because of the trajectory, that is the path that the rocket had taken, and the spin and the calculation. The best possible route was to the South Pole only. So I hope that answered our questions. Now children, coming to the second part, and that is about the salient features of this particular mission. What were the salient features of this particular mission? Now the salient features was, this was the first space mission to be conducted by India, wherein there was a soft landing on the moon's South Polar region, which put India in the league of one of the 4 nations in the entire world who have actually done something like this. So our mission consisted of an orbiter, okay, it had a lander. The name of the lander was Vikram lander. Now, why was its name Vikram lander, and why did we not name it anything else? I mean, we could have named it anything interesting, anything that we can think of. We can think of, like we can think of Rahul, we can think of what? We can think Odin, we can think Atharv, we can think anything, right? But why did we think about Vikram? Now, all these names have come to my mind because I can see you all here in front of the screen, so I said that. So why did the scientists go with this particular name, and that is Vikram? Who can tell me, why did we name it Vikram? I can see a few hands raised over here. Okay, so tell me. Almir, tell me, why did we name it Vikram?
Ma'am, because the name Vikram stands for Lord Shiva and it also depicts bravery.
Okay, no, that is not quite. Okay, Aureen, tell me, why did we name it Vikram?
Ma'am, one of the reasons could be as it is like a calendar sort of a thing.
Come again?
Ma'am, like Vikram, somewhat the full name is.
Are you saying that Vikram and Betal Vikram? No.
Ma'am, I'm saying about the Vikram somewhat calendar in India that was used for lunar calculations and solar calculations.
Okay, any other answer? Do we have any other answer? Because we need to move quickly. Pranshul, my dear. Children, please, no may I, please. Yes, Pranshul.
I think the lander was named after Vikram that you said that made us proud.
Yes, very good, Pranshul, very good, all of you. So the lander was named Vikram after Vikram Sarabhai, the founder father of ISRO. Okay, so that is the reason why it was not named anything else but Vikram. Okay, now the second is the weight of Vikram. Wow, Vikram had a lot of weight, my God. And look at what is the weight of Vikram, which is written over here. Oh God, 1471 kg, that is a lot. And the orbiter itself was 2379, plus we have 1471 kg, and then we have something like the Pragyan rover. So there were 3 things. First we have an orbiter, then we have a Vikram lander, and then we have a rover. So there were the 3 things, these 2 weighing enormously high. I mean, probably some 10 elephants together. So just imagine the weight. Now, how could we launch them? What vehicle could have carried such an immense amount of weight? out of the Earth's gravitational field into the space and then place it into the moon's orbit? What could it be? Any ideas what could it be? Okay, so now the answer is a launch vehicle which is named as the GSLV Mach 3. Children, we all can see this is a GSLV Mach 3, which is one of the best launch vehicles that has been made by ISRO. And I would not say it has been made by ISRO, it is India, one of the best launch vehicles made by India. Not only that, one of the best launch vehicles made by the entire world. So children, I sincerely want each one of you to stand up and salute all the scientists who have been working at ISRO to make this possible. Each one of you please stand up and salute. I want all of you to stand up at this point of time. Each and everyone, don't be lazy, stand up, come on. Yes. Lavya, Arush, Parul, Ranjan, Unnati, Dua, please stand up. Lavish. Yes. Okay. Salute to ISRO, salute to the scientists, salute to India. We are proud to be Indians. We are proud to be living in a country where we are constantly innovating, wherein we are constantly fighting these out. Okay, sit down. Thank you so much. Sit down, everyone. So now we are going to talk about GSLV Mach 3. Okay, so what does GSLV Mach 3 stand for? Now let us see what does GSLV Mach 3 stand for. Okay, so now we are talking about GSLV Mach 3. What does it stand for? It stands for Geosynchronous Launch Vehicle. The full form of GSLV is Geosynchronous Launch Vehicle. Okay. Now there are certain specialities of the GSLV which enables the GSLV to carry such an enormous amount of load. So children, listen to it very carefully. I'm going to talk about the engines and the boosters here. Okay, let me just start with the A. So this is my GSLV Mach 3 and here it has 3 boosters. This is one booster, this is the booster number 2 and behind also there is one more booster. So it carries 3 boosters, okay, 1, 2 and there is also a booster behind. There are 3 boosters which carry fuel in the solid form. Okay, the boosters carry rocket fuel in the solid form. There is one engine over here. Children, everyone please keep yourselves on mute because it is a little disturbing to hear your noises when we are giving the presentation. You will all get time to ask. Put your hands down, hand icons off. You all will get the time to ask. Hand icons off, everybody. Okay, so there are 3 boosters having solid fuel. There is one engine having liquid fuel. So there is one liquid fuel containing engine. And now the best thing about GSLV Mach 3 is this particular engine which is known as cryogenic engine. Okay, this is known as the cryogenic engine. Now children, let me tell you, when you go to your senior classes, if you take up science, okay, if you take up maths, you will be studying a lot about these. You will be studying a lot of calculations and a lot of detailing about these things. Now, for now, please understand, cryogenic engine is one of the best type of engine that we can have. If a country is able to make a cryogenic engine, then that means the space research of that country has reached at least minimum 50 to 60 years ahead. And we are one of them. So what exactly does the word cryogenic mean? Now you all can raise your hand and you all can give me the answer. What do you think is cryogenic? So you all can raise your hands here. Only one hand. Almir has already spoken. Someone else who hasn't spoken can raise their hand. Anyone else? Harshit Minocha. Yes, tell me.
Ma'am, frozen, ma'am, as cryo usually means cold or frozen.
Yes, wonderful guess, wonderful. So Harshit Minocha has given us the right answer. Cryo means frozen. Cryo means frozen beyond the 0-degree temperature. So definitely cryogenic engine means an engine that carries the fuel beyond the 0-degree Celsius temperature, that is in the form of frozen fuel. Now children, why did we have the need to freeze the fuel? I mean, why could we just not carry fuel in the tank like we carry in our cars, like we carry in an aeroplane or a helicopter? Why did we find, I mean, why did we at all have to freeze our fuel? Raise your hands, children, if you all want to answer. Okay. Divyanshi, tell me.
Mom, can you repeat the question?
Divyanshi?
I think that the sometimes when the rocket goes goes up there, it becomes heated so that the fuel, so that the rocket does not get fired. That's why they use the frozen fuel.
Okay, that is a good try, Divyanshi, even though that is not exactly the answer we're looking at, but I'm really proud that you've tried. Excellent. Now, Shubhi, tell me, what is your answer?
Ma'am,
Almeen, you
so
had a
the
turn once, so I'm just going to try to give a turn to everyone, okay? So you'll have to wait, Almeen. Shubhi, tell me.
ma'am, I think they have freezed it so that they can keep it in the engine.
Okay, that is quite close. Now, children, because we have to cover quite a bit, so I cannot be asking so many people for the answer. Now, the reason why we freeze it is because, okay, Almeen, come on, tell me.
Ma'am, because as we know, as the liquid occupies more space. However, when we freeze an object, when it becomes solid, it has lesser volume and it occupies less space.
Excellent. I think children, you all need to clap for him because he's given an excellent answer. Excellent. So he has given the correct answer. Whenever we are freezing this fuel, it occupies very less volume, so that only means that we can carry more fuel. When we are traveling to space, we need to, just like when we are going somewhere, our mothers keep packing the suitcase. She packs anything and everything possible, and we get such a big bag. So similarly, when we are going to space, we have to pack our bags. So we have to pack our rockets with enough fuel so that we can escape the Earth's gravity. We can go to space and we can finally launch a satellite in that particular orbit. So that is the reason why we get into this cryogenic fuel part. Okay. Just a sec, I can't find my... Can you see my PPT? No, just give me 1 sec. Children, just give me 1 second. Something happened and the PPT just got closed. So I'm reopening the PPT and sharing the screen with you all. Okay, so we were on this slide, we were talking. Okay, so now we have spoken about the booster. The next important thing that we are going to talk about is about the gravity drive. Okay, so why is it that we could directly not go to the moon and we had to take turns? Okay, now we all know that when the rocket actually took off, okay, when it actually blasted off, then what happened? It went up till a certain altitude. Okay, it went up till a certain altitude, and then it was beyond the Earth's gravity. Okay, when the rocket was taking off, then what happened? There were three forces that are happening. Whenever we are sending something in space, it is always a game between three forces. First one is gravity. The second one is drag, that is friction that is offered by the air molecules, and the third one is thrust. Okay, so there are three forces that are coming into play whenever we are sending, whenever we are sending a probe to space. Now, the first thing, let us talk about gravity. The gravity is nothing but gravity that is exerted by a planet Earth. The second one is drag, which is nothing but the frictional force that is exerted by the molecules of the air. Now, in order to overcome this gravity and the drag, the rocket must give enough push, enough propulsion in the forward direction, and that is what happens when we give it a thrust. Okay, the rocket fuel, it moves in the downward direction so that we are obeying Newton's third law over here. So my grade 9th and my grade 10th, even my grade 8th, for that matter grade 7th also, I think we all know Newton's third law, right? Every action, tell me children, who can tell me Newton's third law? Raise your hand. Raise your hands, all of you. Atharv, Avichal, tell me.
Ma'am, every action has a equal and opposite reaction.
Excellent. Every action has got an equal and opposite reaction flow. Reaction is a Newton's third law. So this is exactly what is used in Newton's third law. In the rocket propulsion, we have all studied this particular example. So when the rocket fuel is exerting a force in the downward direction, then an equal and opposite force is generated in the upward direction, and the rocket moves in the upward direction. Up it goes beyond the Earth's gravity, and then what happens? The Earth's gravity becomes less, and the drag also becomes less. So when the gravity and the drag both become very less, then what happens? Then the boosters start falling off. Then I don't need my boosters any longer. So you can see these boosters over here. Okay, then these boosters fall off. Okay, they disintegrate from the rocket and they fall off and they're destroyed due to aerodynamic heating. When they're falling off into the earth, they catch fire and then they are destroyed. And slowly, by such a process, what happens ultimately? The probe is launched in the Earth's orbit. Now, why can it not directly travel to the moon? The reason behind it is, if it had to directly travel to the moon, then it would need a lot of fuel. You know, putting so much of fuel is very difficult for us. So I will draw a diagram and I will explain this to you, that why can we not go directly to the moon. So here is my Earth and here is my moon. So my satellite takes turns like this. Okay, it comes back and then again it takes a turn, again it takes a turn, and when it reaches this point, it is captured by the moon's gravity and then it starts orbiting the moon. So every time it comes back to this point, which is known as perigee, this point is known as the perigee, we give a little thrust to a rocket and then it moves to the next orbit. Okay, there are some forces acting on it, like the centripetal force, about which you will study when you go to your higher classes. So my 6th and 7th graders, I know you don't know about centripetal forces. My 9th and 10th, you have heard about it, you know about it. You will know more about it as and when you study. So just register this little name in your mind. So more and more of centripetal force is acting on it and it moves on with a little thrust, with a very minuscule amount of fuel, it moves to the next orbit. Ultimately what happens, this is called orbit lifting maneuver. Ultimately what happens, with the last amount of thrust, it gains that much of escape velocity and it reaches this particular point X, wherein it is captured by the moon and it starts rotating in the lunar orbit. Okay, so this is how it goes to the lunar orbit. It starts rotating in the lunar orbit, it gets closer to the moon, and at the closest point to the moon, what does it do? So when it reaches the closest orbit to the moon, the orbiter now says, Vikram lander, it is all over to you. So now this game is over to our Vikram sir. Okay, so Vikram sir now scans the surface of the moon. Where can I land? Where can I do a soft landing? Okay, it will scan the entire surface of the moon and do what it is meant. But unfortunately, this was not done because we lost contact with the Vikram lander at just 41 miles away from the lunar surface. Okay, and after the Vikram lander would have landed, we would have had the Pragyan rover, which is very similar to remote control cars, running on the surface of the moon, capturing photos and probing and giving us a lot of information about it. Unfortunately, that could not happen. So children, I hope this was clear. I know there were many terms with which you all were not familiar, and I spoke centripetal force and perigee. These were a lot of terms which a lot of children were not, I think, familiar with. I think you all have seen this, you all have seen these videos wherein rockets are being launched, and some of the few terms I think you all are aware of. Now children, I want to ask you a little question. Can you name the place from where maximum number of rockets are launched in India? It is a place in the sun, and no one will say the answer. You will raise your hand. Raise your hands. Athar Tripathi, tell me. Athar Tripathi. I'm not able to hear you, Athar. Okay. Anshika Agarwal.
Ma'am, NASA.
Tell me again.
Ma'am, NASA.
NASA. I'm talking about India, my dear. Come back. We are in India. Come back. I'm talking about a place in India. Who can tell me? Yes. Tanish?
Ma'am, Bangalore.
Tell me, come again.
Ma'am, Bangalore.
Mangalore, you're closer, but then I want the exact place. It's a very famous place. Aryan Pathak. Yes, Aryan.
Mom, the place is the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center in Thiruvananthapuram.
Okay, what exactly, have you heard of some word called Sriharikota? Have you heard of Sriharikota? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Andhra Pradesh.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Now go back to the mute mode. So children, I hope you all were clear. So now we are going to watch this little video which is very interesting and okay, so this is a very interesting video wherein we really get to see this from ISRO what exactly happened when we when we had launched this Chandrayaan 2 part by part.
Ma'am, I have a little doubt.
Hold on, I will give you the turn to ask. Please hold on.
Let's say there's 2 new emails in your inbox. One from a
Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 6,
Ma'am, we can't see anything. Cannot see the screen.
3, 2.
Children, you cannot see the screen. Okay, hold on. I'll share it again.
Just share the PPT screen.
Yes, I'm still sharing the PPT. I will share my, yes, I'm going to share this here. So now you all can see my screen, is it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
2,
You all can hear it
1.
also?
We have
Yes,
ignition.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So there the boosters are separating. You can see the boosters have fallen off. We are off the Earth's atmosphere and the Earth's gravity has become negligible at this point of time. All the aerodynamic parts are falling off here. Empty engine falling off. Probes separating out, being placed in the Earth's orbit. Solar panels are opening because the satellite needs energy from the sun. Solar energy is harvested. So now it is the orbit lifting maneuver. Coming to the gravity. Boost from the engine, lifting to the next orbit. Orbit lifting maneuvers on. The last one, final thrust. Escape velocity number 8. Coming to the point 10. Gravity is lifted on. Orbiting the moon. Maneuvering to get closer to the moon. Vikram lander separates from our orbiter. Vikram is scanning. Ground landing. Ground pulling down. We are landing at the ground. Jai Hind. A very proud moment for India. Jai Hind. A very proud moment for India. So children, I hope you all have thoroughly enjoyed this. And I hope this has ignited the curiosity, this has ignited aspirations in each one of your minds wherein you want to study more about this. Okay, space is our next frontier. It is a final frontier wherein there is a lot to be explored out over there in the darkness. We have a lot to explore, and as young citizens of India, as our future, I think we all should develop this ignition in our minds, this curiosity in our mind that will just propel you like a rocket, that will propel your curiosity like a rocket. And I'm sure each one of you can do wonders in whichever field you choose to. You can excel in whichever field you choose to. So now, children, coming back to our PPT.
Ma'am?
Yes?
Ma'am, satellite should always be decked out with gold.
Come again, Pranshul.
Ma'am, should satellites be decked out with gold?
I am not able to understand. Satellites should always be what with both?
Ma'am, satellite should always be decked out of gold.
Yes, it should be taken out of the orbiter. Yes, the satellite cannot.
Ma'am, our satellite should be made out of gold.
Gold? No, this was not made out of gold, Pranshul. Even though the color looked golden to you, it was not made of gold. There were different kinds of metal coating, different kinds of protective coating that has given your satellite this color. Definitely, we are not making satellites out of gold, right? That would make it so costly. Okay, now children, I would request you all to keep yourselves on mute because now we have a little bit left in the PPT. So these were the parts of, what we have studied now. So Pragyan rover, Vikram lander and the orbiter. Now this is about the parts of a satellite, which is the talk of another session wherein I will take up in detail about what are the different parts of the satellite. For now, please understand, satellites harness the solar power where they convert the solar power into electrical energy and they use, and at times when they're not able to get the energy from the sun, they're using up the energy from the batteries that they're provided with. And how do they charge their battery? They don't have chargers out there in space. They don't have the sockets out there in space, and neither can they go to a battery shop and get the battery. So how do they charge their batteries? On the days when they're able to harness the solar power, they charge their batteries by solar power. Okay. Now, satellites are used in all spheres, as Tripti ma'am has already explained to you about the weather forecasting, right? Satellites, how they're used in the weather forecasting. Satellites, we know, are also used for the GPRS. I think all of you all are using a lot of GPRS. Satellites are also used in the telecommunications. They're also used in the defense, and in each and every walk of life nowadays, we're using a lot of satellites. Okay. So here, this is a little about ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization. So we can watch this little video about ISRO.
The Indian Space Agency, ISRO, well-known space agency across the world. However, even with a small budget and a late start compared to other countries, its achievements have been remarkable. From sending 104 satellites in a single rocket to inserting a probe in a Martian orbit on their first attempt, India is quickly becoming a global player in the space scene. And whereas space agencies like NASA or ESA have a budget of billions of dollars, ISRO has successfully completed interplanetary missions at a fraction of the price. Next up for ISRO is the ambitious Gaganyaan mission, which will be India's first manned space venture. So,
Okay, so ISRO stands for the Indian Space Research Organization. Vikram Ambalal Sarabhai is considered as the father of Indian space program. It is the space agency of the government of India. Its vision is to harness space technology for national development, and ISRO has launched many satellites since its formations, and these are some of the top 10 achievements of the ISRO. So when I'm going to share the slide, you all can look into it and you can have a look. It's very interesting. So the next one that ISRO is planning to come up with in 2022-23 is Gaganyaan, which is going to have a robot, okay, of the name Vyom Mitra. Vyom means universe, yes, and Mitra means friend. So Vyom Mitra is going to be our own robot who is going to be there in Gaganyaan. So this is going to be the talk of another session, not of today. So probably when I'm there with you all in the classes, might be in one of the sessions we can discuss about this. Now, here, let us get to work. So children, now I want you all, now all of you have listened to the session and all of you have All of you have jotted down the points, I believe. So now let us quickly, okay, before I go to this, let me come to this slide. So this is a little activity that I want all of you to do, not now. I'm just going to explain this activity to you all. You will do it later, okay? And then you have 1 week's time and you can send us the videos to all your class teachers. What you will need, very simple, you all have in your house a half-liter bottle, Pepsi bottle, half-liter PET bottle. You will need vinegar and you will need baking soda. So here you have to take 2 teaspoons of baking soda and you have to mix it with about, let's say, quarter to half bottle of your vinegar, and you will mix it inside your bottle. The mouth of the bottle has to be sealed, and how will you seal it? We have sealed over here using a badminton shuttlecock. This experiment was performed by Tripti ma'am and she has got wonderful results. So these are not, something that we have got from the YouTube, but done by us only. All these photos have been clicked by Tripti ma'am when she has performed this experiment. So you seal the mouth with a shuttlecock and then you shake it and turn it upside down. After that, you just remove the shuttlecock and you will see the rocket propulsion. The rocket is going to move in the forward or in the upward direction. Okay, so this is the whole experiment, right? Now, I want my grade 10 students to take over here and tell me why will the rocket move forward? My grade 10 students, come on. Aureen, Athar, Charvi, Mrinal, Unnati, please. Parth. Grade 10.
Ma'am, may I?
Yes, Aureen, definitely. Tell me.
Ma'am, we know that vinegar has a acidic, on a pH scale it has a very large value, and so does this baking soda. So basically, if we are mixing like a baking soda and a vinegar, so we these two liquids react to form a combustion form of sort of
It is
thing.
not liquid, Aureen. Baking soda is solid.
Ma'am, that's solid.
Okay, so listen, we will put it as a homework. So please study about it. Grade 10. We will be discussing it in the next class. The reaction between vinegar and baking soda. What is the formula of baking soda? What is the formula for vinegar?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Atharv.
Ma'am, I have memorized the reaction, ma'am. Like,
Yes,
ma'am,
very
the
good.
end product is, ma'am, CH H3NaO2, sodium acetate. Huh?
That is what? Is that a reactant or is that a product?
Oh, ma'am, this is, ma'am, this is the product form, ma'am.
Okay, and why does a rocket go in the forward direction? What forms in that? Why does a bottle rocket? Okay, so this is your homework. On Monday, I'll be seeing you all and we will
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, who is that?
Ma'am, I was disconnected. Can you please explain this activity once more?
Anandita, definitely I will explain. So listen to this very carefully. This is for all those who would have got disconnected. You have to make a bottle rocket using, yes, you have to make a bottle rocket using baking soda, vinegar and half-liter bottle. So you have to take 2 teaspoons of your baking soda, mix it with quarter to half a bottle of the vinegar, put it inside your bottle, seal the mouth of the bottle with a cork, as you can see, shuttlecock, and then turn your bottle upside down, remove the shuttlecock. There will be a chemical reaction happening inside your bottle and a gas will be formed, which I want you all to tell me what gas will it be formed. Our grade 10th will tell it to us. And only then I will give you the answer. So whenever they say the answer to me, I'm going to say that to you. Okay. So the moment you remove the cork, the bottle is going to move either in the upward or in the forward direction.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Charvi.
Ma'am, an exothermic reaction is formed and the hydrogen gas is involved, which helps to move it upwards and forward direction.
Exothermic reaction, so...
Ma'am, when we mix this baking soda with vinegar, it forms carbon dioxide.
Okay, so children, now because there is a shortage of time, we are only left with 8 more minutes. So this discussion on Monday with grade 10th, Almi, you have to wait. So this discussion will be happening on Monday with you also, Almi, grade 8th and 10th. We'll do that on Monday. Now quickly coming back over here, please make a poster. Whatever you have learned, go get all the material. Make a poster of what you have learned today. Or if you cannot finish it in the next 10 minutes, no problem. Exams are over. So you can utilize the rest of the day to write a jingle on space and to make a poster, design your own launch vehicle where you want to go. You want to go to Andromeda Galaxy, you want to go to Jupiter, where do you want to go? So design your launch vehicle, design the poster, decorate the poster, click a photo and share it with your class teacher. We will be looking at who has made the best poster, okay, and your respective class teachers will be giving you e-certificates. Right? Now, children, I think the link for the quiz has already opened. So before we move to the quiz, okay, so please, yes, I would like to now invite our respected principal ma'am to please come and say a few words to us.
So dear children, how was it? We would love to have the feedback from your side because your feedbacks are very, very valuable. They will help us to chalk out the course of action for the coming Saturdays. And it's our promise, we will give you the best because that is what the Millennium Sector 119 Noida is all about. Wishing you all the best. God bless your day.
Good morning, everyone. I hope this.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, dear
Good
children.
morning,
ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good
Good morning, ma'am.
See all of you because, my dear children, this is a very, very competitive world. Unless until we are not abreast with the latest happenings around us, corona, no corona, life is moving on, right? We are taking all precautions and we want each one of you to ignite that spark and do wonders in life. As teachers, as facilitators, it is our prime concern that every Saturday we should bring different series because every child has got a different talent. There could be latent talents. So we will be having plethora of activities and we'll give you an open canvas wherein it will help you to decide your course of action in senior grades to follow. And that is the reason I wanted the best faculty of the school to take charge of this session. And they have done full justice to that. Can we applaud for all these teachers who have been working so hard to put up this show this morning? Believe me, when I was talking to Tripti ma'am, Ansua ma'am, and other teachers who have been involved here, I think and Anisha ma'am, your senior coordinator, they were all working till 11 o'clock last night to put up this show. They all got up early in the morning because, you know, they were having those goosebumps that they are going to take this show for each one of you. So dear children, this is what we have to learn from these teachers. When they are ready to take that extra mile, don't you think now it's your turn to take that extra mile? And it's our promise that whatever best is there in different fields, right, as a head of the family, we are going to provide you that on this platform. My only request to each one of you is that it's up to us. Either we cry about COVID and things happening around or the losses in our lives, or else to come up something new, or else to just tell ourselves every day in the morning, gear up. I am going to fight it out because this is life. This is a small virus, okay? And we have got such a precious human life. Our parents, they're looking up at us. Forget about board exams or no board exams, but the learning must take place and it's an ongoing process. So I hope your teachers have set the right kind of momentum today for each one of us to take the extra mile. Now, wait for the next Saturday because there will be something more special for you served on a platter in the most interesting manner wherein you can really think out of the box. So thank you teachers once again, and please forgive me if I've forgotten anyone's name, but each one of you is the precious stone jewel in this crown of TMS 119. Thank you for all your efforts, and dear children, thanks for coming on the platform. And as I said, this is an part of internal assessment. So you guys will be evaluated also. And believe me, it is something very serious. Okay? So thank you so much. Have a nice weekend. Spend time with the elderly people at home. Help your moms and dads at home. It's the weekend. They are equally tired. Try to do something for them. It could be as small as folding of clothes. It could be as small as making a cup of tea for your mom and dad. It could be as small as giving them a nice warm hug. So on this note, thank you so much. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for being there and encouraging us all throughout. Without your support and encouragement, this would not have been possible. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thanks a lot for encouraging us. And thank you, my dear children. It's all for you. If you all were not there, if you all were not constantly there and asking questions, and all these interactions had made the session really very, very special for all of us. Thank you so much. See you all from Monday. Thank you.